In the first video, I talked about how powerful action steps can solve the quality issue for instructional coaches. In other words, how it ensures that our coaches are setting their mentees really high quality action steps and practice tasks so that the teachers in our schools make really rapid progress and development. In this video, I'm going to talk about how we've also solved an accountability issue and a progress tracking issue. So the first of those is, how do we hold teachers and our coaches accountable for completing coaching observations, and how do we hold teachers accountable for making progress in their teaching career and in their action steps that we set them? And the second issue is how do we capture and evidence progress, both so that teachers themselves can see it, and also to outside observers like Ofsted, who will want to see evidence that we're delivering a really robust CPD program and that we're making sure our teachers develop. So I'm now going to talk to you through some of the main features of PAS Professional. We'll not be able to look at everything, but hopefully this will make it clear how you could use this in your school and how this helps you to have a really powerful coaching program that will work really well for you. So the Powerful Action Steps Professional, or PAS Pro, front page looks like this. This is my personal page, and every teacher in your school would have one which looked exactly like this. This is my mentor, so this is the person who coaches me, George Long. And this is my most recent action step, which he set me this week, yesterday. I'm mentoring multiple people, so I'm coaching George Long because we're in a reciprocal relationship. And this is last week's action step that I set him. And I'm also coaching 2 other members of staff. So the first thing is that when I go into George's lesson tomorrow to observe him, is that I'll click the observe button, and what will pop up is a pretty standard instructional coaching form. Year group, class, George's previous action step. I'm in his lesson now, filling out this form on my computer or smartphone. He's achieved it. I could write some evidence. I'm going to then script the feedback in the lesson because it makes it much more effective. So what is the praise I'm going to give George about his action step that he's achieved? I'm then going to start thinking about the next thing I can set him, making some notes, writing some evidence. Following that, I go into Powerful Action Steps, and I'm going to think about the next thing that I'm setting George. So George's last action step was on behaviour, and I still think there might be some work to do on behaviour. But I think actually at this point it's more, he's able to do compliance, but it's all about motivating and keeping students on task. So I think that George needs to build momentum with his instruction to get all students working quickly. So I'm going to set him this action step, which links to this practice task. Confirm, those are now in there. I can then write scripts and probing questions about what I saw in George's lesson that will lead him to own this action step. I can suggest that he goes to see a particular teacher who's really good at this action step, and I'm going to see him the same time next week. When I click submit, this action step is stored on the system. It also comes up as a notification on George's page, so it would come up here. And it will be emailed to him that he's had a new observation. So he can go ahead and look at that form even before I've had time as a coach to feed back to him. Now, that is for a teacher who I'm coaching in a sort of free way where I choose the action steps as appropriate. We've also got teachers who are set as being coached on our teacher development curriculum, the sequence. Kim Copley is 62% of the way through the powerful action sequence. So if I remind you quickly about what I talked about in video 1 about the teacher development curriculum that we have, Kim Copley is way up here. So for the whole of this year, she's made really rapid progress with her coach, and she's now looking at gathering whole class data. So I've tracked her progress through this, and I can evidence that by looking at her action step history and looking at all the action steps she's achieved over time that has got her to 62% of the way through the coaching curriculum, which comes with the tool. On the other hand, Paul Jackson, who I've just started on the curriculum, is at 0%, so he hasn't been coached very much yet. So if I click on this, he's limited to the powerful action sequence. So as a coach, I can't coach him on anything else. And this icon here shows that I've got to start off with coaching him on managing behaviour 1 on his essential routines. Although if I moved him to somewhere down here, if he made really rapid progress over the next few months, if I get to here with him, he then is tracked as being on sort of 98% and then 100% of the way through the coaching curriculum, which is a way that we've developed to track his progress. Okay, so that is how the coaching system works in terms of the forms. The next thing which we need to think about is accountability. So I've got a school with 65 teachers who are all coaching at once, and it can be a real issue, and something which I've come up with as I've run coaching in my school is, how do I hold all these teachers accountable? There's so many moving parts in my system. So what we can do is we can look at all the observations and whether these are being completed. So these are all my teachers and their coach and their mentees down here. And these are whether or not the observations are being completed. So I can see that Weil, as a coach, has not been good at all at observing his mentee, Charlotte. On the other hand, Charlotte has been really, really good at observing Weil. And the only reason this one is showing that she hasn't done it is because this is still this week. So she's got until Friday to complete it. So what I can do is scan down here and really easily see whether my teachers are completing their coaching observations. The other thing you can do is email a reminder to teachers who are not completing them en masse. So I can look down here and know if I've got to have a one-to-one conversation if there's a real accountability issue, or I can very quickly, now this is all the teachers this week, and it's still Wednesday, so all these teachers have got 2.5 more days to complete. But if I wanted to send an email, I would click email all overdue mentors, and a stock email which we've programmed into the site in which you're able to edit or edit in Outlook when it pops up, and you can just send that to everyone, which takes the accountability process down to hours of a leader of teachers and learning time per week to quite literally like less than a minute to do the same accountability job. I found it to be a real barrier to having an effective system, and this is what this site does. The second thing which we've got to think about is the quality of action steps, and as a leader of teaching and learning, am I able to look at whether these are being achieved and like whether the action steps are where I want them to be and of good quality. So if I click staff overview, I can see every single member of staff in my school, and I can see the action step that they have been set most recently, so this week or last week, and the area that action step is in. So I can see that lots of teachers are working on special CPD that my schools run on, gathering and responding to data, and they're all being coached on that. And I can also use this data to think about areas where there seems to be an issue across the school. So if every teacher is being set on behaviour management, then maybe I need to provide some additional training. The other thing that I can do is click on a teacher and see their action step development history from the beginning of the year, or from the beginning of the inception of the coaching program. So this is George Long, my coachee, and he's worked on this action step, then this action step, then this one. And so I can see that his entire history over time and what he's developed on. And if I click them, I can dig into that action step and see further detail. Down here, I can also see from the beginning of his time whether or not he's achieved an action step, which is shown like in the first week, which is shown by a green tick, or whether that action step's been rolled over, which is this image here. If I see a teacher's had a lot of action steps rolled over, I can also click, and I can see quite a lot more detail about what that action step was. And so if I, for example, see that George has had lots and lots of planning action steps which have rolled over, I'm able to give him some additional support, put some stuff in place that will help him out. So through this tool, and also through the ability to observe teachers as they progress through the sequence, I'm able to really, really clearly observe and evidence progress that my teachers make. The final thing, which is something that we've built, is a tool where you can really quickly set up the coaching relationships in your school. So here at the moment are all the teachers that we have, and these are all the coaching relationships that are going on. And it's easy to set up a new coaching relationship. So if I want Hannah to coach Tayo, I drag them like that. If I click this button, it's for a single direction. So Hannah coaches Tayo, but not the other way around. This button is a reciprocal coaching relationship, so they coach each other. And that is quite simply how easy it is to populate your school's coaching program to know who's coaching who, and to reset those if they're not working, or to set special people coaching each other. So these are not all the functions that Powerful Action Steps Pro has, but I think these are the main ones for now that will help you and your school to have a highly, highly effective, genuinely world-class coaching program, which is really delivering improvement for your teachers. We're adding functionality all the time, and there will be additional videos for when we add new important pieces of functionality. But for now, I think that this will get you started on setting up in your school. Thanks very much.